6 students went hiking as a form of gratitude because they were each going to graduate, but unfortunately on the hike they got lost and were terrorized by something terrible. One by one they became savage and fierce until only one survived. The 6 students were hiking in the morning, but unfortunately somehow they got lost and had to stay in the forest that night. After finding a suitable spot, they finally set up a tent. 3 tents had been set up. Each of them had a partner. One of them was Jules and Alice. They had just started a relationship. Jules was happy to get to know Alice and vice versa. They were all prospective doctors. Some would become surgeons. Some would become virus specialists, and some would become venereal disease specialists, namely Matt. Matt would be a laughingstock for them, especially Jesse, but they were fine and that didn't matter. While Alice would become a specialist in handling viruses, they didn't realize they would leave campus and live their real lives. A few moments later, they heard a strange sound from a distance. Was it the sound of a bear or a coyote? Gina was the one who was most afraid of it. Jules tried to joke to lighten the mood, but the joke actually offended Gina and she entered the tent first. Of course, Jules didn't want that to happen. Before Alice dated Jules, it turned out that she had a relationship with Jesse, who is now dating Gina. Alice didn't want to talk about her past. So did Jesse. In the tent, Gina apparently didn't really like Alice because Alice was Jesse's ex. If you look at it, it turns out that Jesse actually still wants to be with Alice, but unfortunately, why did Alice have a relationship with Jules? On the other hand, Matt, who is in a relationship with Brienne, gave Breen a surprise. Matt secretly gave Breen a ring. That was a sign that Matt proposed to Breen to be his wife. Of course, that night was a very happy night for both of them. Then Matt left Breen to pee. At first it seemed fine, but soon Matt felt something was stalking him. He still thought that it might just be a weasel or another small animal, but it turned out that a man with a zombie-like face appeared and pounced on Matt. Even Matt's stomach was torn apart by the zombie, while Breen, who was in the tent, felt that Matt had left her for too long. So she tried to come to Matt. When she arrived at the location, how shocked Breen was to see Matt being eaten by zombies in the middle of the forest. Breen, who was scared, then screamed trying to escape, but unfortunately, Breen was also hit by the zombie attack. Jesse and the others heard Breen's screams. They tried to find where the sound came from. Jesse and the others then found Breen in an injured state, but she was still alive, while Matt could not be helped. They still thought that this was the work of a wild animal, maybe a bear or a wolf. Breen was taken into her tent, and since that incident, Gina has been increasingly afraid to be there. She wanted to go home, but they could only do that in the morning. In the morning, a man named Talbot came to Jesse and the others. It turned out that Talbot lived not far from there. Last night he heard a scream. Because of this, he checked and met them. Alice asks Talbot to bring Breen home in the hope that Breen can still survive. After that, Jesse and Jules go to look for help. The distance is quite far to get to the car park. About 20 kilometers, they have to move quickly before night falls. Gina accompanies Breen, who has lost her will to live. She should have returned from there. Breen will marry Matt. But unfortunately, Matt is now gone. While Alice and Talbot try to go to Matt's body, but unfortunately, it turns out Matt's body has disappeared. Where did he go? Is there a wild animal that ate Matt's remains? Most likely a bear, but Talbot said that the bear ate its prey on the spot. In the end, Alice and Talbot return to the cabin. Meanwhile, Jesse and Jules look annoyed and don't like Jules. It turns out Jesse hates Jules because he took Alice. In other words, Jesse actually still likes Alice, but the problem is Alice is homosexual. It's not Jules' fault for loving Alice, because Alice doesn't mind either. Jesse keeps pushing and blaming Jules until Jules pushes Jesse, and then his leg gets caught in a bear trap. Their efforts are in vain to remove the trap from Jesse's leg. Jules has no other choice but to ask for help from Alice and Talbot, while Jesse has to survive and wait for help in the middle of the forest. Alice was with Breen, trying to calm her down. Then she saw that Breen's hair was starting to fall out. What happened to her? The night was getting closer, and Jules still hadn't reached the cabin. Then she heard a strange sound from a distance. Jules didn't want to take any chances. She hid and saw the zombie that attacked Matt appear in front of her. The zombie smelled Jules there, but Jules tried not to make a sound so she wouldn't be caught. Meanwhile, Alice fell asleep and then woke up. She felt something was strange in Talbot's cabin. Armed with Talbot's weapon, Alice quietly entered Brian's room and saw Talbot about to inject something into Breen. Alice stopped her. What did Talbot do to Breen? Talbot argued that he only wanted to give Breen antibiotics, but Alice didn't believe him. From the beginning, Alice didn't believe Talbot. In the end, Alice shot Talbot, hitting his arm, and then Alice made him pass out. Alice asked Gina to watch Talbot while Alice would check the conditions outside the cabin because they heard screams. Alice saw the zombie in the distance, but the zombie ran away because he heard the gunshots inside the cabin produced by Gina. Talbot said that Breen would not survive because she was infected with the virus. Gina would turn into a zombie. Talbot ran away and collided with Alice, but Alice let Talbot go. Since that incident, Alice felt that Talbot was hiding a secret from them. Alice and Gina tried to check the cabin and found a secret room leading underground. Down there, Alice found a lot of drugs, one of which was an anesthetic intended for horses. Why did Talbot keep this much anesthetic? There was also a bed and handcuffs there. Is it possible that Talbot was experimenting? Not long after, they heard someone knocking on the door. It turned out to be Jules. Jules was very scared and said they were in danger. Meanwhile, Jesse, who was in the forest, was approached by a zombie, and it turned out that the zombie was Matt. That night, Jesse was torn apart by Matt's zombie. Gina accompanied Breen, but she saw Breen's gram teeth fall out. What happened? Meanwhile, Jules and Alice come to Jesse but are too late. Jesse is already a corpse, but strangely his pulse is still there. That means Jesse is still alive. Alice has equipment to release bear traps. Where did she get it? Alice used to want to be like her father, a hunter. She learned a lot from her father. But her father wanted Alice to be a doctor because the chance to become a successful person is greater, so she can survive in the forest and knows the tricks. After that, Alice and Jules took Jesse to the cabin. Gina could not hide her sadness. But that night, Talbot came back and threatened Alice. She could not leave the forest and this cabin. She did all this for her family. Which family? Doesn't Talbot live alone? On the other hand, Gina woke up seeing Jesse's hair marks. It turned out that Jesse turned into a zombie and attacked Gina. As soon as there was a chance, Alice and Jules paralyzed Talbot. Then Alice took a weapon and tried to kill Jesse. Unfortunately, Jesse ran away. After that incident, Talbot told what really happened there. Alice's friends were infected with a virus that was similar to rabies, but this was more vicious. The virus can infect through scratches or bites. Anyone who is infected will become a zombie. Including Talbot's son and wife, they used to live in the cabin together. But the virus attacked Talbot's son and wife. Talbot killed his own wife while his son was still roaming the forest. And the zombie that attacked Matt that night was Talbot's son. Talbot suggested Alice and Jules to end Breen and Gina's lives, but Alice didn't want to. She still believed she could cure them. Alice put Talbot in the basement with Breen, and a small accident happened there. Gina got scratched by Breen. It made her condition worse. Breen was finally handcuffed on the bed and then injected with anesthetic. Alice was on guard above while Jules was with Talbot. As soon as there was a chance, Talbot put the anesthetic on Jules. Above, Alice faced the zombie, Matt and Jesse. Both of them were successfully killed by Alice. When Alice returned to the underground, Talbot dropped her and locked Alice and her friends below. But when Talbot was above, his son came, and in the end, Talbot also became a victim. Meanwhile, Alice and Jules had to face Gina, who became a zombie. After that, Alice faced Talbot's son while Jules fled to the forest. Unfortunately, Jules was attacked by Talbot, who had become a zombie. Alice came and finished him off, but Jules couldn't survive. Jules wanted Alice to leave, so he shot himself rather than become a zombie. Alice thought it was over, but she forgot about Breen.